season starts here, the Vancouver Boat Show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The seminar will begin in a moment. In the meantime, I just want to let you know that I'll be your moderator, and you can contact me in the chat window at any point if you're experiencing technical difficulties. Also, you can add questions for our speaker in the Q&A window. You'll find it by clicking on the Q&A button in your Zoom window. So I think we're good to go, and it's our pleasure to present to you Jane Finn with So What? Sewing tips and projects for your boat.
Hi, everybody, and I understand this is the first presentation for the Vancouver Boat Show, so I'm really delighted to be here and share this presentation with you. So I just want to bring your attention to the lower right of your screen. There's a URL, which is a link to our website. And on the website is the link. It'll be all JPEGs. So you can view individual pages because there are a number of pages in the full presentation that isn't in this particular presentation. So there's a series of pages about like comparisons of various sewing machines. We're not going to do that here today. And comparison of some different threads, which we're also not going to cover today. The other thing I just want to mention is I'm not a professional canvas maker. I don't do it as a business. So I just, it's something that I started doing after a presentation that we attended, John and Amanda Neal, offshore sailing with a number of different speakers. And one of them was Carol Hassey. So you probably know Carol Hassey out there, Port Townsend Sail Loft. And so she really inspired me to think about how we can be independent, to do sail repairs, to do canvas repairs, to make our own dodgers, biminis, do all kinds of work for our boat. So that was a real inspiration for me. And then I sought out a local canvas maker, sail maker. This is a long time ago. And I spent a full day one-on-one with her. And we did a number of projects together. I learned how to, do a lot of things like sewing in a D-ring in, sewing in a D-ring and whatnot for a sail, etc. So I've just had a little note pop up here from Mike. So my partner, Mike, is going to be monitoring the Q&A. He's put up a little welcome message with all our contact info, and he'll be in the background monitoring the Q&A if you have any questions, to make sure that you can direct your questions to me later.
Thank you.
So at any, yeah.
I'm just going to mute myself, but I'll be in the background just to let everyone know I'm here. I can answer questions.
Yeah, Mike and I actually right now are in two different locations, two different towns. So at any rate, let's move on here. Oops. Oh, what's going on? Here's our agenda for today, sewing for your boat. We're going to cover machines, threads and needles, materials, number of different things here in materials, projects, some repairs. So machines, the main thing that sets apart a domestic machine, which many of you probably have, with a portable commercial machine, which is what I have, is this device, this mechanism called a walking foot. So the walking foot is an additional part of the commercial machines which help move the fabric through the machine. So both a domestic and a commercial machine will have what's called a feed dog, which is the underneath part which moves. And then the commercial machines have this walking foot, and it allows the machine to move the fabric, multiple layers of fabric through the machine. And so this is just a demonstration. So this is my machine, and I'm going to demonstrate here the walking foot, and you can see how it moves multiple layers of material through the machine. So here we go. There's no sound. So we've got 2 layers of Sunbrella, 2 layers of a Weathermax, 40 gauge strata glass, leather, and a piece of webbing. So you can see this part here is the walking foot. And now let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, I'm just having, this is something new that I've just added in here. So here we go. We'll look at this again. But you can see how the machine effortlessly just powers through all of these layers of fabric. And I'm not pushing the fabric through at all. Oh, now how am I getting? Okay, and so here's a little demonstration of your regular domestic machine. So here you see the presser foot does not go up and down. There's not that second element, which is called the walking foot. So there it goes. So this is my sewing machine, the Sailrite. This is an LSZ1. It's a walking foot, a zigzag commercial type machine. It's a metal construction. So even though they say it's portable, I can barely lift it. So I can move it, but I like Mike to move it for me. It has a wood carrying case, so a heavy wood carrying case. This is what's called the monster wheel hand crank. So when I'm going through multiple layers of fabric, maybe I'm sewing webbing onto a luff of a sail, and I've got multiple layers of Dacron plus 2 layers of webbing. I can start the needle moving by using this hand crank. It also means that you can use this this sewing machine on the boat at anchor. When you're not plugged in, you have no power source, you can make this machine operate. Integrated thread spool holder is underneath the needle. This has a straight stitch, forward and reverse. That is this device right in here. So up and down, forward and reverse, and handles the stitch length. This one also has the zigzag, so the needle moves left, middle, right, and this is the width of the stitch itself. So right now it's set at 0 because this is just set for a straight stitch. And the needle position adjustment, that is what this is right here. So you actually don't need the zigzag. You can use something like the LS non-Z for much of your sewing. Unless you're doing sales and you need something that can stretch, so the zigzag allows stretch in your sewing, that a regular straight stitch does not. So moving on to threads, needles, and fabric. And these things all kind of work together. The weight of one indicates the size of the needle, the size of the thread, the heavier the fabric, it all is kind of interactive. So thread characteristics for marine use. So you want a non-wicking thread, so it does not absorb water. So if you're working on a bimini and you're using a waterproof fabric, you also want a thread that is not going to absorb water and drip. You want a thread that is resistant to mildew and abrasion, bonded so that it does not fray going through your machine, strength, and then stitch, feel, and appearance. So for outdoor use, the best threads are polyester. There's also things like Tenera. And as I said at the beginning, there are a couple of other slides that I'm not using today that actually compares the different threads. So the polyester is good for prolonged exposure to UV. That's one of the main features of that. For indoor, so if you're sewing in your cabin, polyester or nylon. Nylon does not have the UV resistance that polyester threads have. And there's a sample. Don't suggest cotton. It does not have the UV resistance, the non-wicking characteristics, the strength, etc., of the synthetic threads. And then thread and fabric weight resistance. So the material that you're using, if you're buying things like Sunbrella, you're looking at $30, $40, $50 a meter. So you want a thread that's going to break before it rips through your fabric. So the best way of choosing the correct thread weight is by looking at the fabric weight. So here, a 6-ounce fabric would take a polyester thread 46 to 69. So this is fine for your domestic machine. Getting up a bit heavier, 8 to 10 ounce, you want to have a polyester thread 69 to 92. And if you're going up to a heavier, so this will be leathers, heavy, say you've got zippers and Dacron, things like that, thread size 92 and up. So thread, weight, needle size relationship. So again, you've got to have all of these. If your needle's too small for the weight of your thread, you're going to have trouble threading it. It's going to bend, possibly trying to go through some of these heavyweight materials. So here we have a 69 weight thread, requires a 16 to 18 size needle. And this is the thickest size that most home sewing machines can handle. And then here, size 92 thread, 18 to 20 size needle. And here, down here, 138 thread, size 20 and up needle. And the needles themselves, there's two characteristics. There is industrial, which is a 135 by 17. So we're going to, in the next slide, I'll actually have a sample of what that package looks like. And this is just a number, manufacturing number that defines an industrial needle. So this is designed for a walking foot, and it has a round shank. So the very top end of it is round. So putting it into the machine takes some care. You have to make sure that you get it up in correctly. The needles have what's called a scarf on the one side, which allows the thread mechanism to pass through and not hit the needle. So there are, and then the domestic machines use what's called a universal needle, and it has a flat shank. So you can only put it in your machine one way. Round needles are the sort of basic, sharp, most common needle. Ballpoint is a specialty needle designed for stretchier fabrics. Some people work on replacing the trampoline for a catamaran, or they're doing covers for fenders and they want to use a stretchy fabric so it fits real snugly. You'd want a ballpoint so you're not cutting through the elastic. And then finally, a diamond point, which is used for leathers, to punch through leathers. And so here we see Schmetz it's not the only manufacturer, but it's one of the biggest manufacturers. So you see here is your 135, the size 18. You can't see too well here, but these are the round shanks. This is the universal needle. Here it is also a size 18, but you can see quite clearly here the flat shank. This side is the round side. Here you're seeing the flat shank. So here's the three elements all together. Your lightweight fabrics, 10 to 20, 12 needle size, home threads, and up to a V30. V meaning, UV protection. Your medium weights, your heavy weights, and extra heavy weights. And so fabrics, it's a world of fabrics, but six of the considerations for choosing an outdoor fabric. Number one, breathability. Say you're sewing a winter cover. Many covers have, they put vents in them and whatnot. An option then is to use a more breathable fabric that doesn't require all those extra vents. Of course, the more breathable it is, the less water resistant it is. One of the considerations there, using a breathable fabric prevents as much mold and mildew. For seating, a breathable cushion is less sticky. It's more comfortable. Water resistance. So again, this is a little bit of a trade-off. The more breathable it is, the less water resistant. Things like Dodgers and Biminis, their breathability isn't such a consideration, but you really want something that is water resistant. It's one of the main reasons that you're going to be sewing a Dodger is for weather protection. Abrasion resistance. Now, some of the fabrics like Sunbrella have great water resistance, but they are less abrasion resistant. So if it's in a place, up against the pipe of a bimini, you often see people will make small padded, parts that fit around the metal pipes so that you don't get that abrasion as much. Things like reefing lines hanging down from a boom, swooping back and forth across the bimini also can cause over time some abrasion. Number 4, UV resistance. Now this is key for almost any locations, but in particular, if you are, in a warmer, more southern location, your boat will be in the water. Your canvas will be exposed for the majority of the year. Up here in Canada, here in Ontario, where we are, boats typically are out of the water, all the canvas is off them over the winter. So UV is not quite such a consideration. That being said, the more UV resistant it is, the longer the fabric is going to last. Color fastness. This isn't such a consideration for many applications, but the more color fast it is, the longer the color itself stays true in weather. So sun, rain, etc. It will hold its color better. Sometimes we get this kind of print through also, which is happens more with fabrics against vinyl, and the color, it will print off against a vinyl seat or something like that. So that's also a consideration when you're choosing fabrics, where on the boat it is and what kind of other material it's adjacent to. So color fastness and cleanability. The more you keep on top of cleaning your canvas, the less problem you're going to have with mold or mildew spots building up on it. Things like pollution building up on your canvas. Many boats sit for long periods of time. Often we only get to go out for a couple of weeks over the summer or something, but your canvas is sitting, and maybe you're in an urban setting and your canvas is sitting there, and it doesn't hurt to just hose it off and give a light detergent. We often use just a real basic biodegradable soap to just kind of clean off the extra dirt and dust. Choosing a marine canvas color. Now, we're going to look at both the darks and the lights, and both of them have pros and cons. Sometimes you want to, have seamless. Your boat is white, you want a pale color. Sometimes some people like contrast, or you've got a dark hull and maybe the superstructure is pale and you want a, oyster umbrella. It's really both colors have their pros and cons. So dark colors, the pros, the more dye in the fabric, the higher the UV resistance. Dark colors tend to have less, because the light is being absorbed as opposed to bouncing off, has less glare, shows your dirt and pollution and stuff less than a light color. And typically the fabric, again, because it has so much more dye in it, will last a bit longer. The cons: dark absorbs heat, light, so it can be warmer, can be hotter, especially if you're in a tropical location. It can be warmer underneath a dark colored dodger than a light colored dodger, just because the color itself absorbs light. Bird poo is, those gulls and stuff, it's white. So it shows bird poo. At night, a dark canvas can feel, can exacerbate the darkness and make it feel kind of cave-like. And then the darker colors can cause this chemical, it's called pinking, onto vinyl seating. Light colors, the pros, it reflects light, so it tends to be cooler and lighter under the canvas. Better visibility at night, so you are more visible if you've got light canvas rather than dark canvas. Fading is less obvious. So if, like somebody, you drop something, somebody's up the mast or something, drops something down, hits the, bimini, punches a hole. If you have a light color, you want to make a patch rather than replace the whole thing. It will be less obvious because it won't have faded as much. So that patch will be less obvious than on a darker. Bird poo is not as obvious. Because it has less dye in it, it has less UV resistance, can create a bit of that glare, and also shows dirt and pollution. Also a little more prone to mold and mildew. I find typically my Dodgers last, say, I replaced them after, 6-7 years. By that time, they're starting to lose some of their water resistance. So maybe you got a little bit of pooling and it will gradually drip. So it absorbs the water rather than sheeting it off. And we use a light color. So it will start to have some mildewing spots. So just a couple of examples here of different applications and what fabric considerations you might make when choosing the fabric. So here is, this is our boat in Newfoundland, and we just made just a little clamshell cockpit cover. This is made out of Top Gun. I have a sample of Top Gun here. So this is super, it's tough. No light goes through it. It's heavy, no stretch. So this is going to last a long time, but it is not breathable. So I'm using that on this little clamshell because I don't have to worry about breathability. Air can get up underneath, but no water, no snow. Also, no ice buildups, no snow buildup because it is so slick and everything just shears right off of it. So the Top Gun 1S means one side. So it can have this acrylic coating on one side and then the lighter color below on the underside. So again, less possibility of a color transfer. The other fabric that you can use for something like this is much lighter. You can see it's much more flexible, but it also, you can't see through it. It's going to be water resistant, but it's just lighter, easier to use. And this is a couple of other views of the cockpit cover. And you can see this is something called, I love this stuff, Easy Lace Supreme. And basically, you're going to put a binding on the edge of your cover, regardless. This material has both, and I've lost my there. So it's got a binding, you sew it on, but it has this edge that has these little openings. It's like every 6 inches. So there's one there, be one. So you don't have to put a grommet. So even if you're making one of those covers that extends over and you want to have either, some weights hanging down to hold it in place, or you want to attach it to the stanchions, you need then to try and figure out where you want to put those grommets in. This, you don't have to worry. You just put it on and you can attach it anywhere. This is the back side. And so this boat there was another cockpit enclosure. and it attached like this with these little buttons. So this easy lace webbing, I can just pop it on there. So, you know, it's on there with no lacing at all. So this, you know, when I found that stuff, it changed my life. Cockpit cushions. So here, breathability, like we talked about earlier, the more breathable something is, the less sticky it's going to feel to sit on. It will have, the cushion itself will have a little bit of give. If it's a fabric that is not breathable, it's like, it's solid. You want to look at water resistance, abrasion resistance, UV resistance. So this cockpit cushions is a fabric where you really need to look at all the options. How much sun is going to be on those cushions? Do you need to choose a different fabric for your throw cushion that may be down below for good parts of the day when you're underway, but you bring them up in the evening? Maybe that doesn't need the same. It can be a softer, more flexible, have less water resistance, less abrasion resistance. So again, you have to look at the application and consider these characteristics when you're choosing your fabric. Interior. So again, breathability, abrasion resistance, cleanability, and here comfort also. I often use a regular upholstery fabric, which has all of these characteristics, except it is not UV resistant. But for the most part, you can see there's a little bit of sun here, and that, you know, is going to move. It's not going to be a single point of light that's going to stay on those on that fabric over a long period of time. One thing we don't recommend is, you know, more natural fabrics, because they tend to absorb water. They are not resistant to mold and mildew. And we know that, you know, the marine environment, moisture is a constant consideration, especially in northern areas where, you know, you've got cold water, you know, warm interior, and you get condensation on the sides of the boat, you know, on the ceiling of the boat, and it just goes through everything inside. Also, you're coming inside from outside, and maybe you've got you know, rain gear, you know, water gets inside the boat, no matter how hard you try. So natural fabrics just don't handle those kinds of environments that well. Comfort, Sunbrella makes upholstery fabrics, ultra leather, things like that are excellent interior fabrics. A lot of the Sunbrellas do include, even interior fabrics include a certain amount of UV protection. But those fabrics, you're looking at $50 to $60 a meter. If cost is no issue, then go for it. You know, buy the best. But home decor fabrics, which maybe you can probably find some that considerably less. So this is our previous boat. So this is a home decor. And, you know, I chose something that's got a, you know, a small geometric kind of pattern. It's not too bold. It's not too bright, relaxing, didn't fade. So that fabric there is probably about 20 years old. It's been washed numerous times. We no longer have that boat, but that was one of my first projects. Another thing, so sunshades, breathability. Yeah, you don't have to worry so much about, you know, keeping water out. You want something though that is abrasion resistant, UV resistant, etc. So Pfeffertex is one of the best for shade. It doesn't prevent all of the sun from coming through, but it gives you a nice little bit of shade. It also allows, though, the air to come through. So if you are in an area where, it's, you want sun protection, but you still want airflow, this kind of a fabric is fantastic. You can see so you can see out. It's not like having a total blank, curtain. So you can see out, but it does give you some, a good bit of sun protection. Things like hatch covers. So this, you want something that's kind of light, will shed the water, give you some shade, but is light, compact. You can fold it up and put it away. Again, you want it to be water resistant. You want UV resistance. You want color fastness. So this is just, a light nylon ripstop. So this would be about the same fabric as a spinnaker. Light, moves with the wind. Often people will make more of a, a tall one, or like a wind scoop that scoops the air down into the hatch. Dodgers and biminis. So here, breathability is not so much of an issue, but water resistance, abrasion, UV, color fast, cleanability, all key. Now this, there's probably some power boaters out there. I didn't want to just show, sailboat interiors and canvas work and whatnot. So here we have a little runabout with a bimini. And this one is really interesting because this combines the pros of the dark and the light. So this is a dupione, not a dupione, a double color. So the top side is dark and the underside is light. And so here, this is a Sunbrella Supreme. So we've got the dark color. So this is a lovely fabric. It is beautiful feeling. And the back side is like this lovely taupe. So this will have the UV water resistance of the Sunbrella fabrics, but it also has more, better feel quality, especially on this underside. And then here are, other variations. I'm not going to go over all of this. But as I said, this whole presentation plus some extra slides are on our website. And so things like, all the other things. So there's fabric, there's threads, and then all the other things like zippers. The only zippers that I will use are these YKK number 10 Vision with metal pulls. Do not bother buying zippers with a plastic pull. That pull is going to deteriorate and break within a couple of years. So I always use the metal pull. The zipper itself is nylon. This is a fully separating zipper. They come in lengths anywhere from 24 inches to 240 inches. So you are probably, maybe you end up with a standard size, but maybe you don't. So what you do is buy the next size up and you use a little zipper stop like this. And here you can see it right on the zipper. So it fits over one of the zipper teeth at the end, and then you clamp it down with a pair of pliers, and it stops the zipper. So you can make your zipper any length you want. You want to get a fully made zipper, because there are zippers called chain zippers. If you get a chain, you also have to have a separate device which will put on this end. So the other, I only have half the zipper here. The other one is on the boat. So you need this part. So the other part will go up inside here, and then the two parts come together. So that is your separating zipper that you can custom size. Various fasteners. I don't use snaps very much anymore. You're going to see a little project in a moment that uses snaps, and it's a perfect application for snaps. It's inside, the material doesn't stretch or shrink, so the snaps don't either become, too tight to close or too loose. I like these, what are they called? Twist locks. These can be either, you can screw them on to a hard surface, or you can sew them on to a soft material. And basically, this is the one side of it, this is the other side. This part fits through here, and then you twist it, and that locks it. It's much, much easier to put together than a snap. The other is this press the dot. And I'm just starting to use these, and they are pretty great. I'm looking forward to, trying some new applications with them. Then, of course, we have bindings, webbing, tapes. Many of these also come in matching colors to your sunbrella fabrics. Some of these are, like this is a sunbrella binding, and it matches perfectly to the, natural colored sunbrella. Here's a darker one, also matches Top Gun. The other element down here, the small picture down here, is hand sewing. So often you'll have small sewing jobs on a boat that need handwork, not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily use the sewing machine. You often will need a palm. So this is, your thumb goes through here. It's got this part right here, so that you press, the needle goes in there, the threaded end of the needle, you can press it through. Leather, heavy fabrics. And then, this is probably, a 1/3/8 fabric here, or thread here, and my hand sewing needles. Sewing kits. So I have two on the boat. My small one. So I like to have the, twist top with the ratchet closing, clear, so I can see everything that's in there. But basically, I know, I basically what is in there. Got my sewing machine, my scissors, my sewing palm. I've got some bits of binding, some needle and thread, kind of miscellaneous items that I might use on a regular basis. So this gets put away in an accessible spot. The big one has all kinds of heavier pieces of Dacron, sail repair, heavy grommets, D-rings, the D-ring presser. This is a piece of luff tape. Down here you can see the rings. The Dacron, sticky sail repair tape. That's all in there, and that goes under a berth. So I can get at it, but it's not quickly accessible. Projects. So custom boat canvas is expensive. So one of the reasons that we're all interested in DIY is to, one thing, to, have a greater connection with your boat by making things for it, and also to possibly, save some money. So here is a fun little project. This is a keel step mast. So in colder climates, this will sweat. There'll be condensation on it. As it goes in and out of the boat, the paint gets scraped off. It looks nasty. So this is Sunbrella with snap fasteners. Super easy. I've got a whole, materials list, some outline of how to make this project. But again, if you're interested, this slide will be on the website. I see where we only have 15 minutes left, so I'm gonna have to speed through here. Hatch awning. So again, helps to protect the inside of the boat so you can have your hatches open. It can direct airflow into the boat, but keep water, sun, etc. out of it. Again, easy project. Here are the materials required and a little bit of instruction. So these are, if you're starting, to sew canvas for your boat, people ask me if you need to know how to sew before you can start sewing for your boat. And, if you want to start with, the last one is just straight stitching, pretty easy. Sure, but a lot of the projects are more complicated, and I suggest that they may not be projects to start on as a new sewer. Lee cloth. In my thinking, every boat needs lee cloths. We did a help with a delivery last winter. There were no lee cloths. Somebody ended up on the floor with a black eye. So they're there for safety. And then also, I use them all the time. So if we're underway, we're heeled over, I throw all the cushions, any soft stuff in behind it. It's all contained, and you don't have to worry about, stuff on the cabin sole. So this would be a little bit more of a medium project. So again, here's all material list and kind of an instruction. I just, I make these, I kind of make my own patterns. I measured it, I designed it, figured out how it was going to work. This is the bottom edge where I've got the super heavy webbing. These are the twist turn connections. So there is the twister part is screwed down onto the wooden surface below the cushion. And then it tucks under the cushion, so it's secure. Got little carabiners that attach onto pad eyes. So you can be out in fairly rough weather and be able to feel safe. Now a dodger. I took this image from the Sailrite website, and sewing your own from scratch is one of the most difficult projects you might make. Sailrite has kits, so a Sailrite kit will include everything. So here we see the twist, turn, closures, webbing, zippers, everything is included. Sailrite also has all kinds of videos, how-to videos. Some people, I've made several dodgers, and the dodgers that I have replaced have not been in terrible shape. They've been at the point where I felt they needed to be replaced, but it wasn't like critical. So I just took them apart and used that as my pattern. If the Dodger you want to replace is, stretched, is in really bad shape, probably doesn't make sense to use it as a pattern. One of the things with the Sailrite is their instructions is you use a scrim. So this is a very light fabric. It's like just a tissue almost, a synthetic plastic tissue that you use with tape, and you put it on the frame, and you use that to make your template, as opposed to taking apart your old Dodger. So here is Dodger. So this is our boat. It's a Naiad. So it has a hard windscreen and then a very small Dodger. So you can see here is the top, very flat, very smooth, tight fitting. These little knobs are for attaching a flexible solar panel. I use a leather or vinyl, I think this is leather, part here, and it's also on the bimini, so it can wipe off any fingerprints, etc. And so this is another little bit of video. So here we are. This is the unfinished bimini. You can see the zippers are still hanging in place, but we're doing a preliminary fit. So it's not, not finished by any means. But here, so I've got the leather at the front, and I'm going to use clamps to clamp that in place and then work out to get this tight enough. Well, so here it is. Bimini is in place. I'm now fitting an insert infill. I'm going to redo this and put a window in it. But you can see here all the zippers are in place. All the zippers are inside the bimini itself, so they get less UV. Here's the bimini with the flexible solar panels in place. One of the things you're probably going to do a lot of on your boat is things like replacing zippers. So if your boat has those zippers with a plastic pull, that this, Naiad, that was what it had. It was one of the first things I did was replace the zippers, even though I didn't immediately replace the whole cockpit enclosure, replace those zippers. So here you can see zipper here. So here's a little step-by-step replacing how to replace a zipper. And there it is with the zipper foot. The other thing is replacing vinyl windows. They get scratched, they get foggy with the UV. So this isn't so much a how-to, but here is the link to the Sailrite, how to replace a window video. Both the 30, so this 30 gauge is a lighter weight. The 40 gauge strata glass, which is what you saw when I was demonstrating the walking foot. So that's the heavier one. Both of these are available at JT Fabrics. Now there's another little, so here you can see the back side of a window in place. So basically what you're going to do to replace a window is put the new window in first. You do your first row of stitching before you take out your old window. So your bimini or your enclosure is still intact. You don't want a floppy piece of fabric that you're then trying to fit a window into. You put the window in, then you cut out the old one and then finish sewing in your new window. Replacing tears. So sails get torn. So here you see over here, nasty little tear. First thing you're going to do is clean the fabric, clean up the edges, and then put on the sail stick material, round edges. You don't want a square edge because it will pick away. And here's another one with a putting in a whole piece of fabric. So sails, I have made a sail from a Sailrite kit. It wasn't easy. The main problem with the smaller portable machines is the throat. It's just not big enough to do a big sail. So that was very difficult. You can see how I've got this all rolled up here and moving through the long stitch line. For sail making, you need a zigzag because you need that stretchy material. And here is this is the look that I need when I did my little one-on-one course with Nautically Yours Maggie. We did this. So if you have a catastrophic failure, I could just sew in this whole luff, and it's all zigzag. So how to, sailrite.com, how to projects and guides. Facebook groups, lots of great information. Suppliers, this is my go-to main supplier. They're located in Barrie, Ontario. I tried to find a supplier out west, but I couldn't find one. I asked a number of people, they didn't know. But at any rate, jtsoutdoorfabrics.com, Barrie, Ontario, Canadian dollars, no duty, no brokerage. If you buy fabric from Sailrite, you're going to have to pay that. And less expensive shipping options. And then, of course, there is Sailrite, who make those fantastic portable machines, and they have piles and piles of stuff. JT's has some sail dacron, but it's more for like dinghies and whatnot. I'm done. I have 2 minutes left for questions. So thank you, everybody. As I said, and I think Mike has put in the chat how to contact us. And if Mike wants to come back on, or maybe he can just feed me some questions here. We've got just a couple of minutes.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've got, let me see. I did answer quite a few. Well,
I think there's only probably time for one question.
Somebody was asking if you know of a good store like JT's Canvas, but that's out in Vancouver or Victoria.
Now, I contacted several friends who live out there, and they use JT's. So I could not find a local canvas supplier, good fabric supplier. JT's has all the materials. It started out for upholstery and then branched out into all the marine fabrics and, materials. So, yeah, they're in Barrie, so it might take a week to get it shipped, but they have virtually everything there. And as I said, Canadian dollars. But if anybody does find something out there, please let me know. I'd love to know a local, West Coast supplier. And as far as West Coast in the US, I really don't know of anything out there either. Sailrite, I think, is in Ohio. So they're kind of in the middle of the country. And here is Bobby.
Oh, I guess that's it. No more questions. Somebody asked, I had a quick question though. Somebody wanted to know how much the LSZ1 machine is.
All that information is on the website, but the LSZ is about $1,000.
Okay.
It goes up. I think you can get them as lower, but you know, if you want the case, you want the monster wheel, they go up to like $1,500.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jane Finn, for your wonderful presentation, and also thanks to Mike Evans who made this all run very smoothly. And thank you everybody for joining us today. It's great to have you here. Please be sure to check out all the features at VIBS Virtual. If you have a question, check out the info booth. And I hope you have a wonderful day at the boat show.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Bobby.
everyone. Thanks, Bobby. Bye. Bye, Jane.
Oh yeah, the season starts.